countries. About 540 Nigerians actually are being deported from Libya alone this month, and more than 2,000 Nigerians were deported from various parts of the world since February till date over various migration offenses, including human trafficking.
Well, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, that's NAPTIP, is seeking a better budgetary allocation for its operations to enable it fulfill its mandate, even as the crime takes on a different dimension. Lara Afolayo reports.
Reports from the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, UNODC, shows Nigeria is a major source and transit country for human trafficking in Africa. The crime is believed to be associated with criminal networks who facilitate trafficking of young women and girls to Europe and other parts of the world. Nigeria's Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP,
they kill their victims,
says the practice has now taken on new sides.
The organ harvesting is now the new area, the new dimension it has taken now. Because, I mean, it's easier. The money is much. They kill their victims, sell their organs for so much money. The demand is very high, and the risk is very low. The profit is extremely high as well. So they've moved from sexual exploitation, domestic servitude, which takes years, to organ harvesting, which takes minutes to get to convert into hard currency. If you don't really have anything to do abroad, please don't go abroad. Stay in Nigeria. Nigeria is a very, very, very great country. You can make something of yourselves. And to the general public, if you see something, please say something. A lot is going on, and people know that things are happening, but they don't say anything.
The agency has started an awareness campaign to address this trafficking problem. It already has international support and secured private sector partnerships, but it most importantly seeks better funding from government.
We're hoping that budgetary allocation will be improved because it is very, very poor. The job is enormous, and the funding is nowhere commensurate to the kind of job we have on our hands daily. As we speak now, we're getting calls from all over, of trafficking taking place both internally and externally. Another problem is even when these very, very inadequate funds are approved, they are not even released in full. And they are not even released in a timely manner.
Economic, political, social, and even cultural reasons are responsible for human trafficking in the country. NAPTIP once again advises vulnerable Nigerians not to fall victims of the menace, no matter their situation. It warns that a cheap and attractive offer to travel abroad could just be a pathway to destruction. Lara Afolayo, TVC News, Abuja.
Very troubling situation there. Well, we have our guests in the studio. The President Initiative for Youth Awareness on Migration, Immigration, Development and Reintegration, Comrade Solomon Okodua. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yes, and of course with her or with him is a recent returnee from Russia, all the way from Russia, Florence Abu. Good morning, and it's good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
My first question to you earlier, while the report was going on, was why Russia in the first place? Talk to us about that.
I didn't choose Russia. I was deceived, and I was lured to go to Russia by a pastor, an assistant pastor in my church, which I attend in Edo State, Benin City. So he introduced me and asked me if I would like to travel, which I told him yes, but I don't have the fund. And he told me I shouldn't worry about that. If I accept, and he's going to make the provision. So that was how we communicated, and he finally introduced me to someone. He said he lives in Russia, that I should call, which I did. And after that, he told me that the procedure is going to start, but first of all, I have to do my passport. And that was how the communication started, and I did my passport. I submitted the passport back to him because he was the first person who introduced me, and he told me that I shouldn't worry. So that was how the procedure started, and after that, they told me my visa was out, which I finally took my belongings, went to a family's house, which they directed me to, and some oath was taken. And after the oath, they asked me that since I'm going there, the reason they are taking the oath is for them to be assured that when I get there, I'm not running with the money, because their daughter has taken a lot of girls there, and finally she doesn't pay the money. So that was how I was lured, and I got to Russia. She picked me and took me to her apartment, where she finally took my passport, telling me I had to pay some huge amount of money after that before she will have to give me back my passport. And the funniest thing is that you don't work with that passport. It's very risky in Russia. But since she's taking the passport, that is indirectly meaning that that passport is going to be with her for as long as the years you're going to pay her. So I paid her for 3 years, and after that she gave me my passport and she came back to Nigeria. But before then she was trying to bring other girls too. So it wasn't really easy. A lot of things happened. African girls are there.
Yeah, but to put this in perspective, Florence, let's backtrack a little. At the point of taking the oath, and you were told that you were going to pay some money to the person, that they wanted to ensure that you wouldn't run away and not paying money. Did they tell you what the money was going to be for?
They didn't tell me what actually the money is going to be for, because what they were trying to tell me is that I have an handwork and I have a talent. Because first of all, the pastor who lured me into this was telling me I have a talent. I'm a good singer in church, and also I have a very good skills, which I'm a hairstylist. So it was like, this is what white people always like. They always like something neutral. So when you get there and you use those your talent, you're going to make more of money, and in fact you're going to have the opportunity to go to any country of your choice. So it was like somehow, because most time when I watch TV programs, I see how white people always, they take it when they see like African person trying to create something special which they haven't seen before. So I was
of course, you were impressionable at the time they approached you. Let's take it to Solomon. The NAPTIP DG has said that the rate at which Nigerians are being deported from all over the world, including Africa, is frightening. She used the word frightening. In your work so far, how frightening really has it been, you know, with what you've discovered in the course of this anti-human trafficking advocacy that you do?
Yeah, she used the word frightening. Now we use the word crisis.
Crisis situation.
We are in a crisis situation in the issue of people migrating out of this country, seeking greener pasture elsewhere. That shows that, one, the government is not doing enough to provide for the citizenry. A lot of people finish schools, they don't have job for it. People want to cater for themselves and cater for their families. That is the drive. There is hunger in the land. People want to, there's so many drives that's moving part of the country. Go to Nigeria, the city of Agadez today in Nigeria Republic, you see Nigerians. It's like another country in Nigeria Republic.
Wow. Trying
to travel, despite the television, the capsizing of the sea, of the ships in the high sea, and the way people are drowning, and people are dehydrated in the Sahara Desert. They still want to go and cross. Why? Because of the economic, economic situation in those countries. People in Italy today, in the camp.
Nigerians are willing to go to places like Libya in spite of the crisis that's going on there.
Yeah, because that's the transit point. Because you must get to Libya first before you go to Italy. From Libya to the city of Zuwara to the city of Sicily or Lampedusa, it's 450 kilometers. That's
Sicily, of course, is in Italy.
Yeah. That takes you about 16 to 17 hours drive by the boats, with about 150, 180, 190 passengers in one makeshift boat. You get it? Now, before you get to that point, you pay 250,000 naira to Libya. In trying to get to Libya, you meet several, what is called, they call them rebels. These are the Tuareg and the Buzu
the whole territory is
there. Yeah. You must settle them before you pass. And these are the things people, the Nigerians don't plan for, because when they will tell you from Benin, when you are leaving the country, just hold about 150, 200,000 naira. You will take you to Libya, or from there you can look.
All right, now in your advocacy so far, how many people have you worked with? And for example, let's use Florence's story that you've heard, what people have gone through, and the need for a change in the system in Nigeria, especially for Nigerian youths not to travel abroad without a purpose.
Thank you. First, we have several of them in Edo State now that are returnees from Russia, from Italy, from Mali, and from Togo. We have them now. Several of them. In the month of May this year, That was the highest month that we received. Several number of people, 444 Edo indigenous returning only 1 month.
Do you work with NAPTIP?
I work with this. Okay. We synergize.
Okay.
We synergize.
All right.
Yes, we work with synergy to ensure that yes, advocacy is being created and also enabling environment is given to our people, especially the returnees. Early this year, there are some people that were trained in this case, and NAPTIP partner with us to release materials to those people in Edo Zonal Command, Benin Zonal Command. So it was, we work in partnership in that regard. So NAPTIP is doing well, but they're just like the DG has said, they require funding, and not just funding, adequate funding. So the places that they call flashpoints in classic states, especially the Edo and Delta states. Federal government should concentrate on those regions. They should partner with the state government in that area.
Now, when you say funding is required, NAPTIP is asking for funding, and you're echoing what the DG has said.
Yes.
Funding towards what?
Towards awareness creation.
Specifically, okay.
Towards awareness creation. Towards reintegration plans for returnees. Because first, if you must address this issue, holistically, you must take the issue of returnees from any country into cognizance. They are aware this way for, because the highest people that are migrating out of the country again were the people that returned yesterday. They came yesterday because they have seen the good life over there, and they now found out that yes, what am I even doing here? Which means I made a mistake when I was there. Why did I not pass through the lane in the right lane, the right road instead of passing the left one? Okay. They moved again, and when they are moving, they are not moving with them alternative. They are moving with 10 or 200, 10 or 20 people again. That was one person that came yesterday. The people you are seeing now on television that returned from Libya, if care is not taken, they will find they will certainly leave this country back to where they are coming from. The country they vowed never to go before. Why? Because the government did not create enabling, they did not plan for them, because what the right. Says, who sent you there?
Florence, let's get back to you now. Tell us what you went through in Libya trying to pay back that particular woman for about 3 years that you said you worked for her. And what did you do to get the money?
Well, I set my body out.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Sorry. Cough. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
okay,
you know what?
We'll
let's go to him while you gather your thoughts.
Yes.
All right, now, yes, talking about the need for NAPTIP, to get more funds to be able to work more effectively. You mentioned Edo and Delta State, but according to NAPTIP, DG so far, it is not just about those two states. You mentioned Ekiti, Ondo, and even Osun. So from what we've seen so far, it's not a particular problem of one state or a particular region now. It seems to be a problem the entire country is facing, and there is need for training. So tell us how easy it is for an advocacy group like yours to reintegrate someone, a returnee, after going through the horrors out there, and then reintegrating such person into the Nigerian society again, and not even want them to want to go back, like you said.
Yeah, like what we are doing right now, the government of Edo State have, come into the program now fully. For the first time, we've seen the governor that is coming out boldly to address the issue of trafficking and illegal migration headlong. Because the setback we'll be having ever since, because we know now there's no people that no government that has a political will to address this matter. And this man, the governor of Edo State, in trying to manage the situation, he said, "I'm not going to look. Under my watch, I will no longer trivialize the issue of human trafficking and migration." And he has approved training now for 150 returnees. These are the names of the people that will be trained in the agricultural sector. Okay. 150 in Oko ADP in Edo States. So these people, they are going to be trained in agro-food, fishery, poultry, piggery, and general crops.
Will they be accommodated?
Immediately after the training, there's going to be a starter pack for all these people, and that is the beauty of the whole training. And if we start like this, I can assure you, nobody would like to go and risk his life or his or her life in the Sahara Desert.
All right, I'm sure many of our viewers will be wondering. You were telling us earlier behind the camera how much Florence had to pay. Florence would like to hear from you. I believe you're okay now. Yeah. You feel much better? Okay, good. You had to pay $45,000 to your trafficker. Yes. And a whole lot more. Yeah. Where do you get these funds from? And when I say you, people like you, victims of human trafficking like yourself, how exactly do you get these funds? Because the reason you guys are putting out there is life is difficult in Nigeria. Yes. But for some reason, you're able to raise 250,000 naira, $45,000 in, as it were. How do you come up with these funds?
Well, I have to sell my body out to men so I can make this huge amount of money in order for me to pay her back her money which she requested for. So it wasn't really easy anyway, because a lot of Nigerian girls out there are really suffering, undermining my own state too, because I had to pass through that process. But millions of them out there are really suffering. And it's not really easy for you to start paying that money, because a lot of times things do happen. You go to work and you see some kind of hot things which you're not supposed to see, and you begin to like, ah, God, what is happening? Are you sure I'm going to die today? Are you sure I'm not going to die today? So you begin to ask yourself all sorts of questions. But the thanks I want to be giving to God is that at least I'm alive today, speaking on this issue and trying to fight against this issue, so that even if it's going to be taking place, but it's not going to be in a high rate, but rather it's going to be in a lesser state. Because whereby you go to work and you see some girls who are being thrown from 2-story building, 4-story building, 9-story building, 15-story building, and they come down and immediately they break their spinal cord, and you see them sitting on a wheelchair. Even recently we have a case of a girl, she's presently in Edo State right now at Upper Sakumba, who came from Russia, and she left fully just the way I did, but now she was returning back to Nigeria sitting on a wheelchair. She can't work anymore because why? She had to do this in respect to pay someone a huge amount of money. And the funniest thing is that if you can't pay the money, it's a big problem, and they begin to call sort of things, call some diabolic method or something like that, putting pressure, putting pressures on your family, telling your family that if they don't want to pay the money, or their daughter don't want to pay the money, that they are going to fight effortlessly to see that they bring the child down. So with that fear and threat, you just feel like you have to pay that money, and so you can be free from any diabolic cause.
All right, so how did you find your way, excuse me, how did you find your way back to Nigeria?
Well, I came back to Nigeria with the help of one Mr. Kenny, who supported me back to Nigeria, because things was really bad for me in the sense that I could not even feed myself anymore, and I could not cater for myself. I couldn't even pay my house bill. So the little money I had in Nigeria, I had to send it over there for me to pay my house rent, even my cream, my soap. My mom had to do all of that in Nigeria, sending it for me in Russia to use. Wow. So it got to an extent whereby I could not even bear it anymore. I had to seek an advice from a friend who actually gave me a contact of Mr. Kenny, and he told me that since I'm interested, they are going to help me, because I was scared.
Interested, of course, in
coming back to Nigeria, because I was scared. I don't want to go to the immigration office in Russia, because a lot of them, when you complain to them, they take you straight to deportation camp, and when you get there, it's not really funny. Millions of girls in there are suffering badly. A lot of them, even from the deportation camp, they take them to prison. From prison, they take them back to deportation camp. They've now started doing a shift. Some will go this week, then next week when they return back, others will go, because why? Deportation camp is filled with
Do you have
African
an idea
girls.
what happens to them in this deportation camp?
Yes, I have an idea, because a friend of mine passed through that deportation camp before she was deported last year to Nigeria. She complained bitterly they don't give them food for close to a week. You don't take your bath, you don't brush. You don't even have money to buy anything of your choice. You're always in that camp. Sometimes when you complain of, because of the cold, you might be complaining of your stomach or your body, and they tell you that it's none of your business. Because if your president could assist you, you wouldn't be here. So there are lots of words coming out, and so there's a lot of pain. So what I'm saying to the Nigerians and the well-meaning Nigerians, as I can say, is for them to assist. Because I want to say big thank you to the Commissioner of Police, because he made it possible. As I'm speaking right now, my traffickers have been detained in police station, and sooner they'll be going to court.
Commissioner of Police where?
Yes, in Edo State.
Even the pastor?
Okay.
Yes, the pastor and the sister, because he came back to Nigeria actually to recruit other girls, so he can take back. So, but now it wasn't possible, because he never knew I was in she never knew I was in Nigeria. So immediately I burst in, it was like a shock, and we just picked them up and took them.
All right, Solomon, let's come in at this point. From what she just said, that if the president of Nigeria was working, that she wouldn't be abroad there, you know, scouring really for whatever she could get. And that is the sorry state of the country today abroad. So as an advocate really of anti-human trafficking, what is it that you think state governments should do, not even the federal government now, to, you know, borrow a leaf from what Edo State government is doing at this time, so make it attractive for Nigerians abroad, especially those that do not have anything to live for anymore, to come back home and be reintegrated into the country?
Sure, yeah, there's so much more the federal government can do in partnership with the Edo State government, not only federal government, now international agencies, the EUs and in fact all the country that is mostly hit by this migration issue should collaborate with, especially the South governments, not only Edo State at this time, because most of the people coming out of this place they are from that region. they should partner. The partnership in terms of awareness creation, the partnership in terms of this employment creation, job, and building infrastructure in this area that will make life, incentives, they make life useful to people in that region. Because when someone is leaving the rural, coming to a city, he wants to enjoy the life people are living in the city. And when they come to the city and find out that yes, the city is always congested, that is where they now meet people that will tell them that why don't you just cross border and go to Libya. When you get to Libya, definitely you must get to Italy. When you get to Italy, you start sending money to your people in back.
But now it seems like it's even a target on the vulnerable in the Nigerian society, because from her story so far, she never said she wanted to travel. It was a pastor
Somebody just
that asked her exactly that. Would you like to travel? So it's
because
like
of her story. But
they are preying on people.
Several of the because they took advantage of her in the church because one, they saw the financial status of the mother. The mother was always coming to meet the pastor to complain about how she's indebted to some people and the people, the embarrassment and the rest of them. The man felt that I could be of help in this regard. Your daughter can. At that time, she was about 17, 18 at that time.
Wow.
So she just asked, I would like to see her. When she comes, I said, okay, would you like to travel? That's why the offer came, and she brought in several beautiful things about, this is how God told me about this, your journey. Your journey is where, as soon as you land in the airport, God, listen, you're going to say, white man, I will pay you everything to your madam, you become the free
Okay, so we have
because
to
we
really
believe so much in our pastors, that is where
it's really sad, but we need to underscore the point that it's not only religious leaders, people who are respected that are actually into this. There's so many other people who
are professional human
take advantage of this young people. Of course, Florence, you spent 4 years in Russia. I wonder if you speak any Russian.
Exactly.
Yes, I do.
And how is that going to help in you actually being able to bridge the gap between places like Russia, for example? There's so many Russian women, too, that are actually being trafficked in other parts of the world.
Even auctioned online. Women are auctioned online.
We'll
because of time, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for coming
so
to the studio. Comrade Okodowa Solomon, you are an anti-human trafficking advocate. And of course, thank you very much for your story, sharing it with us. Abu Florence, we wish you well as you come back to Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.